from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast.
Coming up on Ag Day.
Farmers, ranchers, and rural families understand fiscal responsibility. They want to do their part. But now is not the time for additional cuts.
The Senate Ag Committee debating budgets and the impact on the Farm Bill, and agribusiness watching China.
I always say watch what China does, not what they say, because they have this tremendous awareness of value.
Learning the growth stages of soybeans with field agronomist Missy Bauer, and serving up a cold one at the greatest spectacle in racing.
Ag Day, brought to you by the dependable, longest-lasting Chevy Silverado.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. As lawmakers sift through the president's budget proposal, members of the Senate Ag Committee are focusing on the 2018 Farm Bill and the state of the rural economy.
When the 2014 Farm Bill was written and passed, times were relatively good in agriculture. But as everyone knows, or should know, a lot has changed since then.
This is the third hearing of the Senate Ag Committee in advance of writing the 2018 Farm Bill. Chairman Pat Roberts reminding other members on the panel that low commodity prices are continuing to weigh on farm sector profits for both row crop and livestock producers. And as the president unveils a budget that cuts spending to USDA, including cuts to crop insurance, Roberts was clear on his position.
We need to ensure that producers have risk management tools at their disposal. Let me emphasize that crop insurance is the most valuable tool in the risk management toolbox.
The committee also focusing on the economic condition of rural towns. Democrat Debbie Stabenow says USDA's planned reorganization could have consequences.
The combination of devastating budget cuts to critical services and the planned elimination of the Undersecretary for Rural Development unfortunately sends a powerful message that this White House is not concerned with the needs of America's small towns and rural communities.
Stabenow says the president's proposed cuts from Farm Bill programs would make a new 5-year Farm Bill virtually impossible to pass. The House on Wednesday reversing an EPA requirement that those spraying pesticides on or near rivers and lakes file for a permit. The chamber voting largely along party lines to approve the Reducing Regulatory Burdens Act of 2017. Now, the bill's supporters say the permit requirement under the Clean Water Act is duplicative, adding that the EPA already regulates pesticide safety under a different law that gives the agency authorities to place restrictions on when and where spraying can occur. Speaking of spray, new organic numbers show a continued upward trajectory of organic product sales in 2016. The latest Organic Trade Association's industry survey showing sales totaling $47 billion in 2016. That's up nearly $4 billion in just the last year. Organic foods now account for more than 5% of total food sales in the country.
RBST has razor sharp horns.
That commercial, part of a new $30 million marketing campaign, is now at the heart of a lawsuit by Eli Lilly and its subsidiary Elanco against Arla Foods. In the filed paperwork, drug maker Elanco argues Arla is ignoring the Food and Drug Administration's declaration that RBST is safe and that there's no discernible difference between the milk from cows supplemented with RBST and those that aren't. Well, the latest Arla commercial does include that language in small type at the bottom of the screen. Elanco sells RBST under the name Posilac. Elanco says the campaign and product labeling perpetuates false claims about RBST. It makes it sound like it's an actual ingredient in milk. The suit is calling for Arla to stop its advertising campaign. The new drought monitor is out, and according to USDA's Brad Rippey, it sets a new all-time record low for the report. Just 4.5% of the contiguous United States is currently experiencing some form of drought. That's D1 to D4. And if you add in D0, or places it's just considered dry, a little more than 14% of the contiguous United States has any color on it. Even the driest pockets in the southeastern states like Georgia and Florida, along with the Dakotas, all seeing rain in the last week or two. Cindy Clausen is in for Mike Hoffman today, and she joins us with a look at farm country and today's crop comments. Good morning, Cindy.
Hello, Clinton. Rains have continued to fall across the Midwest this week. We received this picture of Curtis Wolter's farm on the east side of Hamburg, Minnesota. Heavy rains leaving plenty of standing water ahead of the Memorial Day holiday. Despite the wet weather, 3/4 of Minnesota's soybeans have been planted, well ahead of the 5-year average. And then there's this photo from John Kenney of Ashton, Illinois. Heavy rains continue to wash out fields and force replants in large pockets of the state. Some farmers report a second or third round of planting in the same field. And now here are some hometown temps.
With market prices constantly changing, it's important to know where current prices stand. Get market prices delivered right to your mobile phone. Just text MARKETS8 to 31313 to get started.
When we come back, trading legend Jim Bauer joining us to discuss demand and market moves happening over in China. And later, it may be a race day tradition, but serving milk in the winner's circle is also a family tradition for this Indiana farmer. Find out why today on In the Country.
Ag Day is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest lasting pickups.
In agribusiness, it was another mixed day for midweek markets. Let's get details from our friends on the floor in Chicago.
Let's start with the corn contract. December corn going to be the month of interest for us. That's new crop. 388 is significant support. I think if we are able to get consecutive closes above this level, that should set us up for a sturdy foundation going forward. But ultimately, the bulls want to see the consecutive closes above 390 and a half, which has been a big level previously. Moving over to the soybean market, obviously a little bit different feel as we've been relatively bearish over the past several weeks. 964 is the line in the sand that the bulls need to get a close out above. I don't think they're going to be able to do that, and so we've been looking at selling some of these rallies. A close below 941 really opens the door to some accelerated selling pressure towards that 910 level. Going forward in the next couple of weeks. So that's what we're keeping a close eye on, as some of the delays in corn planting might see more acres allocated in that soybean market. A couple things we're looking at for the live cattle. August is going to be the month of interest for us, although not the front month. It is the most actively traded. We're settling right into a little bit of a range here. 118 to 123 is what we're going to play. So right now, just kind of in the middle of no man's land. Rather buy lower, rather sell it higher. Wrapping things up in the lean hog complex, we saw a little bit weaker cash in yesterday's session, but demand overall continues to be relatively firm, and that has brought prices back up here towards the top end of the range of 80, and I wouldn't be too quick to jump on a top just yet until we see that demand cycle flatten out a little bit in the near future. So that's what we're looking at. That's what you should be looking at too. It's been Oliver Slope with iTrader from the floor of the CME.
Here at the Agribusiness Desk, I have Jim Bauer, Bauer Trading. Jim, let's talk about some of the other countries and production and what we're seeing. We've kind of got a situation going on in Brazil and then China. They've got their own kind of weather issue as they get ready for a cropping season.
Yes, China is the big demand base from a worldwide standpoint. We've seen them come into this market here just recently, looking at natural gas, crude oil, beef, soybeans. Very, very important to price discovery as far as I'm concerned, because that's the demand from a global scale that needs to be monitored and watched every day. Now, as far as weather, the last few years they've actually been pretty lucky. But it seems to me they're having more and more concern about the northern and northeast China plains. If that they've been hot, dry early in the growing season, in the planting season. Some rains have come in, but that's going to be an ongoing situation to watch, because that's the key area of production, particularly for corn and wheat. So we'll need to watch that area very, very closely. And then from a strategy standpoint, I always say watch what China does, not what they say, because they have this tremendous awareness of value. I respect them very much for their sense of that price determinant. So let's watch what they do and see if they keep on buying. That's a good sign.
Okay, what do you think about their stocks? Are they whittling down these stocks? Are they going through them? What do we know? I mean, seems like for a couple of years we've been waiting on them to work through big stocks.
I think they're in the process of doing that, because I think there's some quality issues, and I think they want to kind of like reset and maybe come in with some more corn acres as opposed to bean acres, but they rely heavily on us and Brazil, and they're uneasy with that reliance. But I think in general, their economy is strong, stronger than they probably want us to think it is. A lot of projects are going, and I think the demand base is there for commodities longer term.
Real quick, you think their customer Brazil is going to be switching to the pipeline here pretty quick?
Well, Brazil is Brazil. And this whole situation with the corruption, the change of government, the payments, the under the table type situation, that's been ongoing for centuries. What Brazil needs to do as a modern country is to come up and straighten out those things so that they are a reliable source of information. Their products are screened for safety, and they eliminate this kind of unwanted indecision that forces buyers to make when they deal with Brazil. They need to have the confidence of it, but I think they'll do that over time.
Okay, all right. Well, Jim, we'll keep an eye on it. Appreciate your perspective. We'll be back with more Ag Day in just a minute.
For a free 2-week trial to Jim's daily global market letter, call Bauer Trading toll free at 1-800-533-8045.
Get the roots your crops need by getting Radiate first. Visit lovelandproducts.com/radiate. See your CPS dealer today.
Welcome back to Ag Day with Cindy Clausen. Cindy, as we look at this map, it looks to me like we've got a few things that are be moving across the middle of the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked in our crop comments about Minnesota, Illinois, about some folks having to replant, about having a lot of moisture. And it looks like we're going to see that system in the upper Midwest bringing a little bit more rain to some of those areas today. Let's head straight to the map, show you what's going on. You can see we have a couple of frontal systems in the nation's midsection, one affecting the upper Midwest and one also in the plains. Now, I don't think our model is picking up enough on moisture for this one. You'll see that as we put it into motion. We have another system that's continuing to bring some rain into the northeastern United States. And as we put this into motion, you can see that will continue. We see that rain in the upper Midwest. But as I mentioned, I don't think our model is picking up on the moisture that we'll be seeing with this southern front. So I would look for that if you're in the vicinity of especially Arkansas, Missouri, and into parts of Texas and Oklahoma as well. The northern front will be bringing some rain into parts of Minnesota, into Wisconsin, and even into northern Illinois. And we see that front stretching all the way back into parts of Wyoming and to the northern plains as well. As we get into Saturday, we're going to see kind of the same thing, just some eastward progress of all of our fronts, bringing some more rain to far eastern parts of the Corn Belt, and then getting into especially the mid-Atlantic states around that warm front. All right, here's a look then at how things are shaping up as far as precipitation. And again, I don't think it's correct because I don't think it's picking up enough on the moisture in the southern parts of the country. But at least the northern parts, we're getting that, and we are going to be looking at some potentially heavy rain, especially in parts of the far eastern Corn Belt heading over towards the mid-Atlantic states. All right, here's a look at snowfall, and we really don't see a whole lot of that on the map anymore, just some of those very high elevations in parts of the Rockies. All right, here's a look then at temperatures. Boy, we're going to be on the warm side in the southern plains states today, even up to 85 in St. Louis, and we're still even tolerable even across the northern tier of states where we see those highs mainly in the 60s. We do have a cooler high. Of course, there's going to be rain there over in Bangor, Maine with a high of 51. In the overnight hours, we'll see those temperatures dropping down to the 40s and 50s across the northern tier of states where we still remain very mild in the 70s, even around 80 degrees in southern Texas. And as we head into tomorrow, we're going to see still very warm temperatures across most of the southern tier of the United States, a little cooler over in the far southwest over in California, but a lot of 60s and 70s across the northern tier of states. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Chowchilla, California, sunny and a bit cooler for you today with a high of 79 degrees. Paris, Illinois, partly cloudy, a chance for a few showers and thunderstorms, but mainly later in the day, high of 79 there as well. And Dixfield, Maine, cooler with rain showers with a high of 55.
While the Senate can face serious business, apparently there is still time for a little levity, such as the case on Thursday as the Senate Ag Committee celebrated Senator Amy Klobuchar's birthday.
Who's going to lead us in that song?
Do you want to sing a song?
Well, I think it's most appropriate. Go ahead.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Stand up, Amy.
Happy
birthday, dear Amy. Happy birthday to you.
Well, nobody asked how old Senator Klobuchar is, but acknowledged she is old enough to serve in the Senate. Now, when we come back, we'll head to the fields with agronomist Missy Bauer, including a lesson in growth stages for soybeans. And later, the celebration wouldn't be complete without a refreshing bottle of milk. Meet this year's Indy 500 Milkman today on In the Country.
You can help make a difference in the lives of ranchers who lost so much. Go to wildfirerelief.org to learn more about a $1 million match in relief funds from the Howard G. Buffett Foundation.
USDA says about 20% of the nation's soybean crop has emerged thus far. Well, this morning's Farm Journal College TV, Missy Bauer heads to the field to discuss emergence and the growth stages of soybeans.
Today we're taking a look at early season soybean growth stages, which is important to know for different timings of treatments that we're doing, whether you're rolling your soybeans or evaluating scouting and herbicide timing. But what we want to make sure is we understand at what stage that's at. So what we talk about in soybeans is the V stage. In the V stage we work off how many trifoliates it has. Like in this case we have 2 fully developed trifoliates, so this would be a V2 soybean. When the bean first comes up, what we're going to see is that it has the cotyledon stage, and then it's got its unifoliates. After that, it'll start to put on its first set of trifoliates, as you can see here. But from a growth stage perspective, this would still be what we'd call a VC plant or unifoliate, as well as this one. We would not be into a first trifoliate or V1 until these leaves are actually unfolded. You can see here they're still curled up and touching. So by the time we get into an actual V1, the leaves have opened up. So here's a V1 plant because I have 1 trifoliate. The second one is started, but they're still touching. Here's my V2 plant with 2 trifoliates. And here's my V3 plant. So I've got 1, 2, and now 3 trifoliates. Again, these are unfolded here. So that's how we want to evaluate the early season vegetative growth stage in soybeans.
The greatest spectacle in racing is right around the corner, and it won't be long before this Indiana dairyman is honoring a timeless tradition. His story, next.
In the Country, sponsored by Kubota's BV 4580 round baler. Learn more at Kubota.com or visit your local Kubota dealer today.
Every Memorial weekend, race fans gather to watch the Indy 500, and at the end of the race, the dairy industry will be watching one of their own cap off the win. Betsy Gibbons spent time with this year's 500 milkman as he prepares for the moment.
It happened, so it was like, well, okay, so it was like...
Joe Kelsey, a dairyman from Indiana, has done it all. He manages his farm of 500 cows and hundreds of acres right outside of Indianapolis.
We are a 6th generation dairy farm. We were land granted in 1837 by President Martin Van Buren. And so for generations, we've been a part of stewarding this land, taking care of the animals.
A responsibility he's carried from the farm to the State House.
In 2009, I was appointed to be the director of Department of Agriculture here in Indiana, talking about agriculture, promoting what we do every day.
And now he's taking on a big job not far from his backyard.
Checkered flag is in the air.
The responsibility of representing dairy producers like him across the country at the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500.
There is nothing like Indianapolis in the month of May, and the excitement that exists in and around the track is an experience to behold. This is something that I think is so extravagant that it's hard to put into words, but extremely excited about being there and being a part of the Indianapolis 500 this year.
Kelsey's job is to award the winner, chief mechanic, and team owner with the bottles of milk, a tradition that's been around since 1933, when winner Louis Meyer asked for a glass of buttermilk in Victory Lane.
When you can connect and marry the traditions that happen in auto racing at the Indianapolis 500 to the traditions that happen in your own family, it is quite a special feeling.
And you could say Kelsey has some pretty big shoes to fill this year. His dad, Merrill, was the 2007 Indianapolis 500 milkman. Merrill Kelsey awarded the 2007 winner, Dario Franchitti, the coveted bottle of milk, in front of millions on TV and on the track.
To be able to kind of step in and fill those shoes behind him, a really special event for me and my family to kind of remember him as he's passed just last year, and kind of have those special memories of the things we can share in common, and it's a special set of memories for sure.
Joe says his father Merrill did not exactly give him advice for the race, but he did leave behind an adage to live by.
He was one of those guys that always kind of had a special way about him when he would give you advice, but it was more of make the most of every situation that you find yourself in.
A way to hold family memories close and share his everyday passion on race day.
I'm really blessed to be a part of the industry and the community that is agriculture, and I'm excited to share it.
Reporting in Whiteland, Indiana, I'm Betsy Gibbon.
A great family legacy. Thanks, Betsy. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in, spent part of your day with us. For Cindy Clausen and Betsy Gibbon, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.
Ag Day is powered by Ram Trucks, America's longest-lasting pickups.